Okay, I'm looking outside in the lot here, and we've got ourselves a bit of a snow day, and when you know it, the phone just rang. I gotta answer that. All right, so where was I? So yeah, Stella, the shop dog, is looking outside at all the snow falling, and she's not quite sure what to think about that. Should she get wet? Do squirrels come out in the snow? We just don't know. So yeah, we had a lot of snow here this year, but not a lot of it stuck. So when it is a snow day, it's kind of a fun time to get stuff done inside the shop. I'm going to close the door, keep the heat in. And we're doing a little maintenance on our Subaru 360. In fact, this little car right here made it to the cover of the magazine, the Microcar News, which is no longer with us. It's defunct back in 2007, if you can see that issue, 2007. Pretty proud of that. You can see the car did not have white walls or red rims. It now has white walls and red rims. But it's in for a little service today. I like to drive these things. In fact, I drove it today before the snow started. And for those of you lucky enough to have a Subaru 360, I consider myself pretty lucky. I want to go through a few technical things that if you own a Subaru 360, the realism of owning one, what you will actually encounter. Make sure the compressor doesn't kick on there. So if you are lucky enough to own a Subaru 360 and even additionally more lucky to have a running and driving one, there's a few things you should know. So let's go through just kind of a brief overview. I've got my headlamp on so things will see a little brighter. There's suicide door, and when you're on a lift with a suicide door car, you got to be careful you don't bang your paint. Lifts, even though they're, what do you call that, asymmetrical, the posts are angled for normal cars to allow the doors to open. Suicide door cars were never intended to be on lifts. I don't think lift manufacturers had a clue. So we are looking at the interior of a Subaru 360, and we're getting to the business part of things, which is usually under the dash. And under the dash, we have two knobs. We have the defrost up here, which allows warm air that comes from the engine up this little tube and goes to a little vent to defrost the window. We don't want that knob. What we want is the one below that, which is the hood opening release, which is this one right here. So if we pop that, get under the hood. Hold on a second. I gotta grab the phone again. Okay, so we're back. That darn phone rings all the time and gets in the way of our fun little video. So we were talking about the technical side of a Subaru 360. We just popped the hood. I showed you how to do that. There's a release handle. It's kind of low and hidden. And then you open the hood like this, and there's a cute little stay here. It's a wire stay. It's got a hook into that part of the stay where the little shepherd's crook. That's exactly what you don't want to happen. Yes, you want to hook like that so the hood stays up. And you can access your brake fluid reservoir. Normally your spare tire would be in this area, your battery, and your fuse box. And if you are an owner of a Subaru 360, believe it or not, the most common problems and the things that will drive you crazy are the brakes. They're sort of complicated for such a simple little car. This is how you check your reservoir. I'm shaking it a little bit there, and you can see that the reservoir has some fluid in it, which is really good because you always want to check your level of your reservoir. This is the factory reservoir, but aftermarket tube that goes into the master cylinder, and I'll show you where that's located. We'll go back into the car, and we're going to shine our light under the dash and down here in the footwell area. If I can get my light to, I'll just take my light off here. That might be better. So you would pull back the rubber mat, and normally there's a piece of wood, the only piece of wood on a Subaru 360, like a little floorboard, kickboard, and your master cylinder is right there. You can see when you press the brake, well, maybe you can't. If you press the brake, the linkage will move, and it is a non-power assist, very simple master cylinder. The brake light switch is right there on the trunnion or the block, splitter block at the end, and it goes out to all three lines from one basically exhaust port or one exit port. Now this master cylinder has been upgraded with a Willwood from a hot rod. I believe it's a 3/4 inch bore, and I don't know the part number. I can find that or put it in the description. It works pretty good if you can't get a normal Subaru 360 master cylinder. So if you can get past a master cylinder, get a good master cylinder, that's 50% of your problems being erased on a Subaru 360. The other is the wheel cylinders and the e-brake cables. So on a Subaru 360, you actually have 2 wheel cylinders per front wheel. You have a leading and a trailing. They're blind holes, so you have one that kind of pushes out this way and one that pushes out this way. And let's see if we can look at them from the inside, because you're not going to be able to see much. Yeah. So there's one lower one and then one upper one there. And to adjust your wheel cylinders, or I should say adjust your shoes, you would use these little holes that are all around the outside of the aluminum fin brake drum to see, when you look in there with a light, you can see how close the shoe is to the steel lined drum. And if it's got a big gap, you know you need to adjust them out. And the way you adjust them is you can get the drum in the correct position and shine a light in there, and you can see the star wheel adjuster, and you can adjust your shoes accordingly. You're going to be doing this a lot, because as shoes wear, or if your wheel cylinders leak, or what have you, wheel cylinders and Subaru 360s wheel cylinders are the Achilles heel. On this particular car, I've upgraded the brake lines to stainless steel, and I have rebuilt master cylinders. In other words, they've been rebuilt wheel cylinders. They've been re-sleeved. And let's lift the car up a little bit on the rack, and I'll show you some more stuff underneath. So give it a second here while it goes up. It goes up kind of slow because it's geared for heavy cars, and it comes down slow because a Subaru 360 only weighs about 1,000 pounds. Okay, so now we're looking at the underside of our Subaru 360, and again I want to show you we have a leading and a trailing wheel cylinder in the front, so there's 4 for the front axle. The bleeder screw is actually on the bottom right there, and that's on both sides. That sort of summarizes what the front brakes are like. The speedometer cable, you can see right here with the spring winding, is driven off of the front wheel. And we have kingpins that are greasable, and it's always good to grease those, I would say, once a year. You don't want your kingpins wearing out. It's a very simple front end. It's a torsion bar. You can see the torsion bars that run through there. There's actually 2 torsion bars, and they're shared. You can adjust the ride height here where my finger is pointing at the spring that kind of gives the torsion bar a little lift, and it's got a very simple steering rack. What I want to show you as well is that's where the gas pedal comes out of the car, right there where I'm touching this part right here, and it just activates the cable, as well as the e-brake. We're kind of focusing on the brake. The e-brake is from this lever right here. There's a turnbuckle right where my light is shining that you can adjust your tension on your e-brake cables. It goes back to a little trunnion here, and then to each one of the rear wheels. This is also a bit of Achilles heel. Subaru was nice enough to put a grease fitting from where the cable is uncovered or unprotected to where it goes into a spiral wound protective covering, which the spiral wound part is metal and it rusts to the cable. So typically Subaru 360s, vans, trucks, and cars all need e-brake cables, and there's no easy solution. You have to make them with the right ends. So that's sort of another Achilles heel. Again, when you're checking your Subaru 360, you can just simply go up to any wheel and see how it spins. They don't have a lot of power, engine-wise, 25 horsepower. So if you've got a dragging brake, which is common, you've reduced your power by depends how bad the brake is sticking, but you could actually absorb 5 horsepower by having stuck brakes, which really could affect your driving enjoyment. So a couple other things, technical notes here. We've got our clutch cable, which I'm shining my light on right there. And we've got the accelerator and the choke cable, which come up and wrap themselves around. This is the bottom of our engine. This is where the fan is that would draw in cool air, which is right above the muffler, or I should say the exhaust expansion chamber. And the muffler here is at the end with all the oil on it. This is a pretty clean little Subaru. It doesn't really have any rust per se. At one point it had a brake fluid leak at the master cylinder, you can see right there, and peeled off the undercoating, but there's no rust per se. It's pretty clean. So it's kind of a quick little overview of what a little Subaru 360 is like. I hope I didn't rush it too much, but I did want to explain what it's like to own a Subaru 360 and some of the pitfalls with the brakes and what you need to be aware of. They're cute little cars. Disc brake conversions have been thought of many times, but because of the finned aluminum drum being part of the wheel, it's very difficult to replicate, and people have tried, but nobody's been able to really get like a kit on the market. There isn't enough demand, and I'm not so sure they would work much better. It would, I guess, but if you're going to own one of these cars, you're probably going to tinker with it, and so you will tinker with the brakes. So that's what I wanted to say. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you learned something. I hope I didn't slur or give you any bad information. If I did, let me know in the comment section. All right, thanks for watching, and thanks for checking out my little Subaru 360 that was a magazine cover car at one point in its life.